Miami didn't fall as far as you think they did after losing to Louisville.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. There's a lot of Louisville on today's episode, football and basketball, because Louisville basketball has signed a grown man, or they've gotten a commitment. I don't think you can sign yet, but they've gotten a verbal commitment from a grown man who's already played 3 years of professional ball. It's going to be joining their basketball team. These are wild times in college sports right now, folks. We'll talk about the Week 9 slate coming up in ACC football. But in the meantime, Kenton Gibbs, and you know, like, listen, I'm the Miami guy, but I'm actually surprised Miami has as good of odds as they still do to win the ACC, despite losing to Louisville. Because from where I'm at, I feel like Miami's got a better chance of getting into the college football playoff than they do getting into the ACC championship game, just based on the standings. But do you venture to guess where the FanDuel Sportsbook has Miami in terms of ACC championship odds?
I know that they're probably not first because Georgia Tech probably has a good stronghold on first.
Yeah.
I want to think about second. Who else would be second? Are they? I don't think they put Louisville at second. I don't think they put Louisville at second.
Maybe they should, but no, they didn't.
I don't. I know they didn't put SMU at second. SMU has looked very unimpressive for a majority of their schedule, but they're picking it up now. Is Miami second? Are they second?
Miami is second.
Miami second? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so okay, so I understand like the line of thought just on pure football is that Miami is probably still the best or second best team in the conference just based on absolute football. Right. But if I'm thinking about the ACC standings, though, and you're right, Georgia Tech, according to FanDuel, is favored to win the ACC at plus 230 odds. Miami second at plus 260. Virginia third at plus 440. And Louisville fourth at plus 500. So just the reason why, like, I'm a little concerned, like, for ACC championship from a Miami point of view is, obviously, Miami's got the one conference loss. Georgia Tech doesn't have one of those. SMU doesn't have one of those. Virginia doesn't technically have one of those. But even Louisville, who does have a conference loss, Kenton, they would have the edge over Miami. If Miami and Louisville both finish the season with one conference loss, Louisville jumps over Miami because of head-to-head. So that's why, like, I'm really surprised Miami's not third or fourth in odds. And if I look at, like, Louisville's remaining schedule, I guess the odds makers don't think that Louisville is going to win out in the ACC. So Louisville still has Boston College at home, should be an easy win. Virginia Tech on the road should be an easy win. Cal at home should be a win. Right. They got Clemson at home, but I think we could stop pretending that Clemson's a tough game this year. Like I mean, I guess like people still feel like it is. I don't think it is. They got SMU on the road.
The wheels are falling off.
So Louisville does have SMU on the road, but Miami also has SMU on the road this year. And then Louisville plays Kentucky at home, doesn't count towards the ACC standings. Whereas like Miami's ACC schedule, not only does Miami have a tie-breaking loss to Louisville, Miami has to play SMU on the road and Pittsburgh on the road, which I would argue is tougher than Louisville's other conference games this year.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Pitt has shown us that when they're playing at their best, they're dangerous. You need to come with your best stuff, and you need to count on the Narduzzi disaster class to happen at some point in time in the game, which is not unheard of. We know Narduzzi, right? He shows us the best of coaching and the worst of coaching sometimes in these games. But with that being said, I mean, there is a tougher climb for Miami ahead. However, Miami has the talent to do it. You look at Clemson and you say that's not a good team. They haven't put it all together. The problem with a team like Clemson, the danger that they present is they are so uber talented. If it does click, even if it clicks for 3 quarters, Even if they have one quarter of complete dysfunction and chaos, if it clicks for 3, they're probably going to win that game. That's how good they are talent-wise. Now, again, we can sit here and admit, like you said, Donno, they're not a good team. The compilation, the amalgamation of talent that they have is not working well together. However, we all know with a team like that, all of a sudden when you write them off and you say, oh, your season's done, they could come out and surprise you with one. So I get the odds makers point there. And the one that surprises me the most, where's Virginia in this line? Where
they're third behind. They're behind Miami at plus 440 odds. So they're kind of a distant third, but they are third.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. That helps out a little
Yeah.
bit. Because I was about to say Virginia can't be too deep. Because while Virginia does have, they're Virginia. So we know they have certain deficiencies in certain areas. We know that this is a team that they hope, hey, defense, just hang on. Just hang on enough. Just don't let go of the rope and give our offense a shot. And they can do that. While that is the situation, you never want to bet on that team, even though in recent history, we saw Wake Forest get to an ACC championship with that exact same mantra. It was the defense.
Right.
Hang on to the rope. Just get me a turnover here and there. You don't got to be great. Just don't let teams put 50 on you and we'll be fine. So I honestly think this ACC race, in a year where we thought it's Clemson's to lose and everybody else, and then we thought it's Miami's to lose and everybody else, now we're realizing this is a spicier ACC race than we've had in quite some time. And I'm going to tell you what, Georgia Tech, y'all better be glad. I know Georgia Tech fans are saying, we don't get our respect. Nobody's loving on us. Nobody's giving us. Look at the other 2 teams that got all the respect and the love in the ACC. Maybe you don't want that love.
You're right.
Maybe you want to stay under the radar with people doubting you, with people saying Haynes King can't run the ball like that for a full season, with people saying, oh, their defense is bend but don't break, and they've been bending way too much. That's what you want if I'm Georgia Tech, because every team that's been crowned has had that crown violently snatched off their head this season.
Yeah, covering Georgia Tech this year has been so strange because on the one hand, and there could be validity on both sides here, we don't maybe spend as much time here talking about Georgia Tech as we do about Florida State when they lose 4 games in a row,
right,
about Clemson when they're in a funk, about Miami when they're great and then suddenly they lose a game. Georgia Tech haven't lost a game all year. They've been the most consistent team in the ACC. So Georgia Tech fans accuse us of not talking about them enough. Maybe they're right. But then on the other hand, maybe we don't devote as much time to them. You and I have been very high on Georgia Tech this year, and I feel like every time we compliment Georgia Tech, we get comments from other college football fans who say, who have they played? Overrated. That team sucks. Irrelevant. Their schedule soft. So it's weird. Like you get it kind of with both directions for Georgia Tech. But I will say this, no matter what you think of their resume thus far, Brent Key is doing things at Georgia Tech that have not been done since the Vietnam War. He's got that team top 10 in the country, number 7 in the country, top 10 for the first time since 1966. The Beatles were still touring the last time Georgia Tech was in the top 10. So yeah, maybe we don't talk about them enough, but when we do, I don't want to get these comments probably from UGA fans or whoever like, what are you talking about? Overrated. They got a cupcake schedule. No matter what you think of their schedule, Brent Key is doing something there that has not been done since long before you or I were born.
Let me explain to you something else that they're doing that it hasn't been a long time since they've done, which is a fairly newer thing. This is something that you and I were both alive to witness. This team, people keep talking about the passing game. Haynes King, can he really throw the ball? He's only got 4 passing touchdowns on the season. Hollywood Smothers, the number 1 rusher in the ACC. You want to venture to guess who number 2 is?
Haynes King?
Haynes King.
Wow. That's crazy.
Georgia Tech.
I never would. If you hadn't led me into that answer, I never would have guessed that.
Georgia Tech has 3 of the top 15 rushers in the ACC. Like we're sitting here and pretending, oh, there's only one way to win football games. Guess what? Everybody and their mama knows Georgia Tech's coming downhill, no frills. Hey, that Haynes kid, that King kid, they coming downhill. They're trying to be physical with you. Well, Donno, let me ask you this. Have any of the 7 teams that have played them so far, have any of them been able to stop it?
I mean, what the officials kind of stopped them against Wake Forest, but the officials stopped Wake Forest a little bit.
That's fair. That's fair, and I will give you that. But again, the rest of the year, they have been effective to say the least. This is a team that, again, if they're in any other conference, we saw how Indiana was talked about last year. Some people saying they didn't play anybody. Some people saying, hey, they're legit. Look what Indiana is now. Georgia Tech is on a very, very similar trajectory. It's just that they've had certain disadvantages that other teams may not have had to deal with. So to see where they are, to see that they are on the precipice of greatness with, might I add, 4 teams left in conference. Of those 4 teams, here are where those teams rank in terms of ACC standings, in terms of, I believe it is Boston College, NC State, Syracuse, and who's the 4th team on their ACC schedule remaining, Donno?
Ooh, hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. Georgia.
Okay, well, but while you're pulling that up, Boston College is dead last. Syracuse is 4th from last.
Yeah,
NC
so
State.
They
NC
have
State is on the bottom half of the conference, and so is Virginia Tech if they do have them.
They got Pittsburgh, Pitt, Boston College, NC State, Syracuse. Yeah.
Gotcha. So Pitt is the only team. They have 1 team left that's on the top half of the conference going forward.
Yeah.
Just 1. So you can say what you want about, they played nobody. They're not going to play anybody. But guess what? A win is a win is a win. And as much as people love to talk about the SEC and all their hypotheticals, we can't down SEC fans for saying, we beat everybody by 70. We beat everybody by 80. And then also down Georgia Tech for beating the teams that are in front of them. Georgia Tech has played a physical style of football, and they've dominated with their physical style of football. So as long as they keep winning, as long as the rambling wreck keeps on rambling, I don't see a problem.
By the way, I had the 1966 right. I totally messed up the stat. So they are 7-0 for the first time since 1966. So that's still something that Brent Key has done that hasn't been done there since the Vietnam War. Had the Vietnam War even started in 66?
I don't believe so, but I'm not a history buff. I can't tell you. Paul Johnson was the head coach last time they had 3 rushers in the top 15 in the ACC. I know that much.
Yeah.
I know that much for sure.
Yeah, the last time they were in the top 10 before now was 2009, which was in the Paul Johnson era. So there, and Paul Johnson might have been coaching them in 1966. And he was running that 66 offense.
Exactly, and the Nam War was said to have started in 55. So yes, it was rolling when this last time Georgia Tech was this good. Hopefully, we don't get any more wars of that scale. Hopefully, we're hoping. Yeah. But in all seriousness, we are seeing a Georgia Tech team of that scale because they're whooping the wheels off everybody in front of them. And again, I don't want to hear strength of schedule. I don't want to hear – there was the tweet that was put out about, nobody wants to see Georgia Tech and USF in the first-round game. The ratings would be terrible. I don't give a damn. I'm sorry. Donno, is it just me? But I don't watch movies. I don't listen to music. I don't watch sports. I don't do any of that with the thought of, what will the ratings say in mind?
Right.
I don't watch anything. Right. I don't listen to anything. I don't enjoy anything with the thought of, will everybody else agree with me that this is quality? So, it's real loser talk.
I remember when I saw the first Avatar movie in theaters. I waited like a month, and by the time I saw it, it was like the highest grossing whatever of all time. And I'm sitting down in the theater. I'm like, this is Dances with Wolves with more CGI. Like this is the highest grossing movie ever. Like, what is this crap? No disrespect to James Cameron. I loved Aliens. I loved Terminators 1 and 2. Titanic was a good movie. So James Cameron's awesome. Avatar didn't do anything for me. All right. So I just want to throw that out there. They're making sequels. I have no interest in the sequels. I do have interest in taking a look at the ACC Week 9 slate when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Folks, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. With more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else, Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Oh, folks, we're also proudly brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It is their most advanced piece of equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You can get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. For your next listen, check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack. I host Locked On Canes. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. All right, so Georgia Tech, by the way, at home against Syracuse this Saturday. GT favored by 17.5 points. It's a big number. I don't know if they cover, but they're definitely going to win, because Syracuse, unfortunately, has not been the same team for the past a month now. I think it's been a month since Steve Angeli got injured. And the Orange, unfortunately, they already had defensive issues. They have lost their offensive identity since the Angeli injury. So if Georgia Tech does slip up, this is not going to be the one where they do.
No, I highly doubt that. And when you talk about Georgia Tech slipping up and the liability or the opportunity for this to be the one, Donno, if you had to guess, if you just had to rattle off the amount of points that you think this team is scoring per game since the Angeli injury, what would you say it is?
Like 18.5?
11.3.
Oh.
Since Steve Angeli got hurt,
wow.
they've scored 34 points in 3 weeks. Like that's just really where they are. Offensively, you want to talk about defensively, they have no identity. Here's the thing. They play together. This matters together. When the offense is as inept, as anemic, as they're in vanish mode permanently. When that happens, your defense can only do but so much. And mind you, this was the defense that we knew had deficiencies coming into this season. So, as much as everybody loves Fran Brown and loves to love on Fran Brown, the reality is he's got what he's got. He's got what he's got. And the cupboards are looking a little barren for him right now. And I think with the way the last year went, everybody will be willing to give him a mulligan. With the way that Aronde Gaston looks for the Chargers right now, I mean, most yards since Antonio Gates, Detroit Lions Antonio Gates, that is. It's a situation where people are now saying, like, oh my God, they did have talent. They did have a bunch of ball players at Syracuse, but it's a really unfortunate moment, man, in looking at where Syracuse is. We knew the schedule was going to be tough. Half of last year's playoff on your slate. And then you have to go into it with a quarterback that was so bad, you had to go get another guy after spring. I mean, and then that guy gets hurt. We knew this was coming. So I wouldn't be surprised if they cover here because, again, Syracuse is in a bad way right now. And I know Georgia Tech hadn't blown anybody out this year outside of G5 G6 and FCS teams, but this is looking like easy lickings here.
Yeah. And so another big spread in a game that has, ACC championship implications. I bring up Georgia Tech, of course, because they're in the driver's seat. Virginia, 3-0 in conference, ranked number 16. They go on the road to take on North Carolina. They're favored by 10.5 points. Now, obviously, UNC has been the circus that they've been all year long. With that said, they were a lot more competitive at Cal last Friday night. A bad red zone turnover. I don't know. Do you feel like is North Carolina getting better to the point where they could maybe challenge Virginia on their best day?
Is Gio Lopez still the quarterback?
As far as
That's
I
my
know.
only question. That's my only question. If the answer to that is yes, so is the answer to the question, is Virginia going to win the ball game? Those two questions have a very direct and linear relationship. That one is going to tell you the other. If they play Max Johnson, they've got a shot. They've got a shot. But Gio Lopez just is not the guy. If you can hear the sound of my voice right now, and you are doing Gio's interceptions against his touchdowns, every interception takes away a touchdown. Congratulations, you have as many touchdowns as Gio Lopez. He's 3-3 right now. That's how bad this young man is. I'm sorry to tell you, this is not fun. I don't take joy in even on the Dirty Foot Club, I don't take fun at pointing at one young man and saying, hey, buddy, you're not the answer. But Gio Lopez very clearly is not the answer at quarterback. And for whatever reason, I don't know if he's got the original files of how Belichick and Jordan met or something, but he's got something over that. If he's got the
Hulu files, he's got the document.
He's got the Hulu files. He's got the HBO files. He got documentary of Lombardi headed over to the Saudis. He got all. There's no other way I can excuse trotting him out there week after week after week, Donno. I don't understand it. I genuinely don't. So, yeah, Cal's going to win this football game.
I saw another one, and you're the right person to ask about this. Pittsburgh favored by 6.5 at home against your NC State Wolfpack. Pitt is obviously another team that has an opportunity. They're 3-1 in conference. They have a head-to-head with Miami later this year. Is your Wolfpack going to spoil their party? Because ever since they made that quarterback change to Mason Heinschel, they've been a different football team.
Donno, this brings me to the NFL. This brings me to the NFL. You know why? Because I can't remember which quarterback it was. I believe it was Josh Allen, or it might have been some other quarterback. But they said, whenever we see a linebacker, whenever we see a white linebacker that's not as fleet of foot against one of our best backs that get open in coverage, we have a thing called a milk check. And we know that we're going to target that guy. Now, Cam Fordham may be one of the leading tacklers in the ACC, but him against Desmond Reed, that's barbecue chicken, that's oxtails, that's baked mac and cheese, that's greens, that's neck bones, that's hog maw, that's all of that wrapped into one nice little plate for you for $5 like we back in 2005. I'm sorry to tell you, that is the matchup that Pitt will look to exploit, and that is a matchup that with Sean Brown potentially being down as well, because it's not just Cam Fordham, the linebacker core for NC State in general. Without Sean Brown, they don't have guys that are very elite in coverage. With that being said, you want to put them up against this Pitt backfield, two scat backs, two guys that can absolutely get shifty in the open field. Hey, this is going to be a long day for the Pack. The Pack's best hope at this thing is to light up the scoreboard, but we've seen times where that offense, even with all the talent they've got, they just go missing as well. So, it's really, this is going to be a matchup about coaching more than almost any other that we've seen this year. Because I remember saying when Pitt was up on Florida State, I said, Pitt specializes in cover 4. There's no way Florida State scores 2 touchdowns right away. And then they went with the classic cover 4 beater, the deep end and big post combo, and Pitt fell for it. And I sat there and I said to myself, y'all are up with 2 minutes left, and y'all can't allow 2 touchdowns, and y'all let the oldest trick in the book get you. That's like letting somebody get you with the tap you on one shoulder, even though they're on the other side. That's how old that trick is to beat cover 4. That's inside baseball for you. But if you know football and you run cover 4, you know a team's going to run big, deep end, big post. That is supposed to break down cover 4. That's what it's supposed to do. Yeah. And lo and behold, they fell for it. So I think this game will be about coaching at a very high degree. But when you get down to the player matchups, I just think Pitt has too many favorable matchups on offense. I think they take it.
By the way, when you bring up Des Reed, it reminds me, I really oversimplified Pittsburgh's turnaround because I mentioned the quarterback change from Eli Holstein to Mason Heinschel. But coincidentally, right when they made that quarterback change was also when Des Reed got healthy.
Yep.
So he might have had a little something to do with that because he tore up Florida State a couple weeks ago, that's for sure. All right, so when we come back, I want to shift gears to basketball, the Louisville Cardinals have made headlines. In case you were not aware, this is a very recent rule change. College basketball teams are now allowed to recruit and sign professionals. You can have someone who's been in the G League for years, and you can commit and go to college. Louisville has done just that, and Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo is like really, really upset about this. You want to keep it locked right here? We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Guys, the only ticket app that Kenton Gibbs and I use is Game Time. College football is the absolute best. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself, with endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why we use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you get. I'm going to be at the Stanford versus Miami game in Miami this weekend. I'm looking at tickets under $10 right now on the Game Time app. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go! Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. All right, so Kenton, I think this is a situation where it's like if you're upset about Louisville and whoever else is going to do this in, recruiting G League players, to me, this is a don't hate the player, hate the game situation. Yeah. Because this is now something. The NCAA has changed their rules. If it's perfectly legal to do this, I don't blame Louisville or whoever. This is going to happen more than just Louisville. I do not blame anyone for saying, you know what? If we can get somebody with 2-3 years of NBA G League experience who can help solidify our roster with the experience that comes with being a professional, why not do it if it's within the rules, right? And Louisville has done just that. They've gotten a commitment from London Johnson, who's a point guard, who has spent 3 years in the NBA G League. He's expected to arrive in Louisville mid-year. He's going to sit out for the rest of the season and be eligible next year. So he has split time in the G League between the Maine Red Claws, which is an affiliate of the Boston Celtics, and the Cleveland Charge, as you'd imagine, an affiliate of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And before we play Tom Izzo's very angry reaction, I mean, Kent, do you agree? I don't know how you could disagree with this, that if you're allowed to do it, do it?
If you're allowed to do it, do it. But like you said, don't hate the player, hate the game. And I hate this game. This is the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, this is worse than that game that always freezes up and gives you the red rings of death on Xbox. This is the worst type of game because why are we allowing players who went professional in a thing, and not just professional at the highest level? The G League is the highest that there is. There should not be anybody able to say, hey, I'm going here and then I'm going back to college. Because the G League, you get called up to the NBA at any moment. And congratulations. Yeah. With one stroke of a pen or with one thought, not at any particular time, as long as it's during the season, you're in the NBA now. I don't think that it should be a situation where guys can go from that to playing against 18-year-olds in no time. You know what I mean? I just don't. There's something about that strikes me as a little odd.
Yeah, man. I don't know if Louisville football is going to look. Maybe if Lamar Jackson has any eligibility left, he can come on back. Come on back and give us another year. But let me play these comments. Want to make sure to credit the source here. WILX TV reporter Chris Solari asked this question to Michigan State head coach, of course, long-time college basketball head coach Tom Izzo. And it's fair to say, well, we won't play the whole thing, but let me play some of this. Fair to say he's not too happy with the state of affairs in college basketball.
I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I listen to people talk of how kids changed. Kids aren't the problem. We're the problem. This was sprung on us again yesterday, where a guy can be in the G League for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden he's eligible. Most of my people knew nothing about it. I don't think our commissioner I mean, I am not real excited about the NCAA or whoever's making these decisions without talking to us, just letting it go because they're afraid they're going to get sued. So you're right. I said that this really bothers your coach if you're Michigan State fans. But if you want a silver lining in a cloud, I am going to call Magic tonight. I'm going to call Jaren Jackson, Miles, Gary, Max. You know, this just goes to show you how ridiculous people that are in power make decisions.
Well, let me end it right there. So he's going to call great Michigan State alum Magic Johnson, who may have some more eligibility left, Kenton. But he hit on something that is so well stated. The NCAA is going to keep letting rules like these change simply because they know they're going to get sued. They're afraid to get sued, and they're afraid because they know they will lose. You're muted. The big Louisville lobby got to you.
See, Dalton Pence comes on for the squad. Now all of a sudden, I'm locked out. Now I'm gonna tell you this, and I mean this very genuinely. I have said this about many things in life, and this is another one where we're seeing it. We are teaching people and teaching our youth, and I mean this for our youth, because the youth, that's where you set the foundation of the house. You can add on window dressing later. You can all change all that later. But when you're young, that's when the foundation is laid. And right now, what we're teaching our young people is a complete and utter lack of stick-to-itiveness. I'm not saying that people should not have freedom of movement. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the ability to go and do as they please to some extent. But what I am seeing overall is everything, and this could be a larger tangent about a lot of other things outside of sports, but I'm going to keep the sports right now. Even if we talk about the transfer portal, at least you're sticking to college sports. If a young man or a young woman is allowed to and makes the decision to jump to a professional league here in America, where you know I'm competing at the highest level, I'm getting the highest level of training there possibly is, and all those things, you should have to stick to that. There should be something holding you to, okay, if you circumvent college, you're circumventing college. Let's make no mistake or bones about that. And this is not like the baseball situation where a guy goes pro in baseball for a few years, it doesn't work out, and then he wants to play football or basketball, and he comes back and does that. No, because he wasn't receiving the highest level of training for football or for basketball. He was receiving the highest level of training for baseball, and then he comes back and plays every sport. But if I'm looking at this and I'm saying you receive the max, like this is, you're one pin stroke away from playing next to Donovan Mitchell. One pin stroke away from playing next to Louisville great, Donovan Mitchell, and you're telling me that, oh, man, you should be allowed to come back to college? We have to teach the youth at some point in time. Everything that is not comfortable, everything that is not easy, everything that is not ideal. I'm not saying that there's virtue in suffering and staying through suffering and pain just for suffering's sake. But at some point in time, when are we going to put our foot down as a society and say, you've got to eat your vegetables? You've got to live with the decisions. You've got to say, hey, right or wrong, I'm going to make a choice or I'm not going to make a choice. And I'm going to live with the results of whatever the outcome of one of those two options is. Because this feels like an undoing of the decision to circumvent college. If you want to go to the G League at night to circumvent college, go do that. But no, you can't come back.
Yes.
This is foolishness, man. This is foolishness.
I couldn't agree with you more, and we'll end on that note. I'm sure we'll talk more about that throughout basketball. See, although this player is not going to play till next year, but I have a feeling this story is going to come up again. You want to keep it right here. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Make sure you follow Kenton on Locked On Wolfpack and at TGIF_Kenton on X. Follow me on X at Alex Donno and on Locked On Canes. And we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.